Hi everyone, Life Coach Carissa here, coming to you today with a new message that is about story versus fact. I really love talking about this topic because it was so insightful in my own life to start creating an awareness around the difference in story versus fact and how it showed up in my life. So I'm really excited to share that with you today as well. So I want to share with you how this shows up in our lives, how it can impact us, and why it's important to develop the skill of recognizing the difference between story versus fact. So I thought a good place to start would be with the basic definition of these two words. And I'm actually going to give you two different definitions for each word, just because I thought they added a little bit more context to the definition itself. These are according to Google. So story, a definition is an account of imaginary or real people and events told for entertainment. The second definition is the account of past events in someone's life or in the evolution of something. So that's story. I found that really fascinating that it actually included the phrase for entertainment in the definition, because that will be what we're talking about as we dig a little deeper. And the definition of fact, the first one is a thing that is known or proved to be true. And the second definition is the truth about events as opposed to interpretation. Again, I found this one really fascinating because they use the word interpretation. Like we are often interpreting the facts of an event and creating our own story. So those are the definitions of these two words. And how does this unfold? Why does it matter? So what happens is just after we observe something happen, and just before we're about to feel an emotion about it, we tell ourselves a story. We add meaning to the action that we just observed. And that meaning can come from previous experiences, belief systems, these formed neural pathways that are already in our brain. And I'm telling you, this happens so extremely fast that you aren't even aware that you're doing it. So you're not going to be able to catch what will naturally happen, but if we can create some awareness around it, you can, after the fact, be able to look at this through a completely different lens once you create some awareness around it. So why is this a problem? Well, the cause of problems in our life can often be traced back to how we chose to interpret certain circumstances and events in our lives. So in my life coaching training, I'll often refer to circumstances in factual terms. So I will say, we want to look at the circumstance and we want to break it down to the facts of it that could be proven in a court of law. And so how does this impact us? Well, we often think things are facts. And as a coach, I can offer a different perspective because I'm not emotionally invested in your story. So having someone be able to point out the difference between extremely helpful, thoughts that you're having versus thoughts that are not helpful, that's where I'm able to create awareness around this. And this is important because we create our lives mostly through our minds. Think about that. We create our lives mostly through our minds. So can you see why managing your mind is so crucial? It guides you to the results that you get in life. We believe our story so deeply that we see it as a fact, and it is not. When the story is painful or holds us back, these stories are not useful to us. I am telling you here and now, you get to choose the stories you tell. You get to rewrite old stories into new ones that can serve you better. If someone asked me about an event from my childhood, I am going to tell my memorized story. My mom may have a different story, which is her version of what she remembers. And my brother would have his own version that he memorized. We each have our own way of recollecting it. Those are the memorized stories that we have. They are not the facts of the situation. You have the facts of what happened, and then you have the story of what happened. This is so important to know because it creates an awareness around your being able to look at the facts and change the memorized stories, especially when they're no longer serving the life that you really want to live. If I asked you to create a case for why you've had a wonderful life, you would go into your brain and you would find those stories that would prove that to be true. And if I asked you to make a case for why you had a horrible life, you would go and grab stories that would justify that being true. Recognizing that you have multiple stories stored away about your life is a key to deciding what stories serve you and what stories don't. So you get to make the conscious choice. When we realize that our minds cause our feelings, we can be much more in control of our emotional lives. We can choose to not be mad when something insignificant happens in our life. Byron Katie said, "It's not the problem that causes our suffering, it's our thinking about the problem." It's not the problem that causes our suffering, it's the thinking about the problem. I love that quote. So let me give you an example, because it might help paint the story of what I'm trying to show you in regards to story versus fact, and how you could maybe see where this shows up in your life. So let's say I invite a really good friend of mine to a concert, and I am so excited about this concert. I want to share this experience with my friend. I am certain she will be just as excited as me about this concert. So I text my friend and I invite her to the concert and I let her know I'm taking care of all the arrangements. A week passes and I get no response from my message. I am thinking about it on a daily basis. I can't let it go. My brain will begin to tell me multiple stories such as, she doesn't want to go. She just doesn't know how to tell you. She must be mad at you after your last dinner together because of something you said. And then it evolves to, maybe we just aren't as close as I thought we were. My primitive brain will create endless stories about this. It will repeat them so many times that I will start to view them as facts. And most commonly, our primitive brain will go negative because its role is survival, drive, and instinct. So it's only natural that it's going to focus on what may be wrong in this situation, not what could be right. And so when your primal brain is engaged, your evolved brain is really not even working. It's like it turns off because your primitive brain is taking care of everything for you. So if I really chose to think about this, what are positive stories I could think? I could also create, like, maybe she didn't see the text. Maybe she forgot. Maybe she's still checking her schedule. But it would be so fascinating to watch how my brain will be more drawn to those negative stories than it will the positive. Why? Because it's trying to keep us safe and prepare us for discomfort. So if I'm able to slow down and recognize what my brain is doing, I can switch to my prefrontal part of my brain, where I use reasoning, problem solving, comprehension, impulse control, creativity, and perseverance to look at a situation. Completely different set of skills that your brain can use. And when I use that part of my brain, I may choose to stop being stuck in confusion. And I may send her an email. And I might just want to make sure she saw my text. As simple as that. I may choose to text her again. I may choose to just call her and ask her if she saw my message. Just so I can find out the facts and the truth of what is happening and stop this downward spiral that my brain is going to continue doing till I take control. So if you ever find yourself in this sort of situation, you think it may be happening, ask yourself these questions. 1, what actually happened? Break it down to the non-emotional facts of the situation. 2, what is the story my brain has created about this circumstance? 3, how do I feel when I tell this story? What does it feel like? Does it feel good to me? Does it feel bad to me? And lastly, 4, what do I want to believe about the facts of the situation? This will allow you to begin to create some new thoughts using your prefrontal cortex, and you will be able to replace the old ones that are in your primitive brain and just kind of go on repeat. So this is something that you can use for the stories from the past, and you can use it in present day events that are happening. Something will happen in your life, And your brain is going to start creating stories that then create a feeling that you have, which then ultimately leads to the actions that you take. That moment of awareness is in being able to recognize when your brain is telling stories or when it's actually looking at the facts. So a lot of times I'll ask myself, like, what's the facts of this? What is the true story? What is actually happening? What's the story my brain's telling? What do I want to believe? If you can just pause and stay in that for a little bit and ask yourself those questions, you will find yourself being able to not have insignificant situations in your life weigh you down, slow you down, keep you from showing up the way that you want to in life. So remember, there are the facts of what happened, and then there is the story of what happened. And so start practicing being able to see the difference before you act so that you can get the results that you want in your life. All right, everyone, thank you for joining me. I hope that you liked this content and found it helpful. If you do, please click the like button. That would be great for me to be able to tell what content you're loving and what you want to hear more about. So just give me a like if you enjoyed this content today. Thanks so much and take care.